Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wyld. Today, we are conducting yet another interview with Mico the Entrepreneur, and joining me is Bud Soda, and we're going to be going over one of the most scandalous situations that have happened in the ghost kitchen industry, in the restaurant industry, and for food trucks in general. Onefatfrog scamming so many people at this point, Mico included, and we're going to have a firsthand experience of what everybody is talking about and how people have lost tens of thousands of dollars and how Onefatfrog may have actually gotten away with millions if they were left unsupervised. The content of this video does not contain is never intended to be legal, business, financial, tax, or health advice of any kind. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is advised that you conduct your own research and consult qualified professionals before applying anything you find online. I also want to be clear that everything that we're going to be going over in this video and in this interview is very market dependent. What applies to me and my market and Mico's market and Bud Soda's market is not necessarily what is true for you. So with that said, how you guys doing, Bud? How you doing, Mico?
I'm good. I'm good.
Doing great, thank you.
How Mico found Onefatfrog.
I started watching Onefatfrog on YouTube and Facebook when I lived in Houston. So I was already in my second year as being the owner of Doe Beverage. I kid you not, I would watch them just like I would watch any other videos. I would look at their success stories of people getting their trailers. Everybody seemed so happy. I mean, whoever they had for their PR, advertising, marketing, they did a damn good job. When I decided to relocate back to Orlando to grow my business, I said, you know what? I've been watching this company on social media for like maybe 4 or 5 months. And I'm like, okay, I would go to their website and look at the trailers they had and, go through the steps because they had steps of how to get finance, what you do once you put money down. And I said, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna go visit them because I actually did research on them, Onefatfrog, and other food builders. But I didn't have a lot in Orlando. There was like Jacksonville or it was like further out. And I'm like, this is in Orlando. This is a street that I'm familiar with. I'm just gonna go up there and just, check it out. I finally moved back to Orlando and I went to the location. Now I'm pulling up to the location. I mean, you talking about a big warehouse. I mean, huge. And so I go and it's colorful. Frogs are green. So that was their color. And so it's like Onefatfrog, everywhere. And I go in, everybody was nice. And it was one person in particular that I wanted to work with. And his name is Mario. I was like, I used to always see him on the Facebook posts and the YouTube. So I was like, I want to meet him. That's the one who I want to work with, with getting my trailer. When I signed in, I chose him. And so he was my salesperson. He did his job as a salesperson. I asked different questions. And that day, I made a decision to go ahead and get finance for my trailer. Now, total, my trailer was $30,000 minimum. Like I didn't have anything special to it, a sink, cabinet, counter. Like it was basic for $30,000. So the trailer is $25,000, but get it financed through Click Lease, which we'll talk about that another time. And then I had to put $5,000 down of like a deposit.
Comparing food trailer costs. Do you know how much a food trailer would normally cost on average?
It depends on what items you have in there. The equipment is very expensive. So let's just say on average for maybe a ice cream smoothie type of truck or beverage truck, maybe on average it will probably be like 40,000. If you're cooking food with a hood, because I didn't have a hood in mine, so the hoods were more expensive, and then you have to get other equipment. So on average for like cooking in your food truck or trailer, you're paying average probably 70,000 and above.
What I was notating with that was like you said you had none of the upgrades or anything, and for some reason that was 30,000. And I don't know why this ended up on my TikTok feed. I'm talking to you too much, Mico. I ended up seeing some food trailers like in a warehouse on TikTok. I don't think it's Onefatfrog. I think it's a totally different company, but it was less than $10,000. I was like, is that just for like the absolute basics? Like, and you were telling me the absolute basics is 30,000. So they're already above the norm in that regard.
I brought that to his attention. I said, now when I researched other food truck builders, it was like 18,000 to maybe 22,000. And I already thought that it was expensive, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm a business owner. I'm going to buy it. I'll write it off. I didn't think much of it because I mean, it's a business expense. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And I think that's what a lot of people did. They were like, oh, I'll just go ahead and buy it because I can, it's a business expense. I need this, whatever. If business owners, especially the ones coming from a cart, if you're coming from a cart or like something small like a garage and you decide to get a food trailer, you have this like anxiety, like I think I need to get in now before I change my mind. And I think a lot of times when they come in and they see these trailers and they see the success stories, because they play the videos, the same videos that they have on social media, they played it in the background when you walking in. So you see it and you see people smiling and laughing and having a good time, and they're ready and they're energized, they're ready to hit the road. We all got caught
So,
up into I need to get this.
do you think that with their PR and that they're playing their social media stuff in their sales showroom, do you think that would play into people being a little misguided and being a little impulsive and misinformed versus making a delayed decision because they want to jump into the game? Let's do it now, like you were saying.
I think so. I think they made sure that the marketing was on point, advertising. When you walk into the showroom, everything was clean. People were working. If you've never been a business owner and now you decide to be one, if someone keep telling you, oh my gosh, when you get this trailer, you're going to make so much money. You're going to travel everywhere. You're going to go into so many festivals. It's going to be a line of people. And that's what they run with. And I think for some people, I like making money. I think I'm money driven, but I'm not driven to the point where I'm going to do anything or everything to get it. And I think some people, they say, well, yes, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And if I got to work 100 hours, I'm going to make this money. Versus me, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to put in my 9 to 5 or 9 to 7, have one off day for my business, and then go from there. So yes, I think One Fat Frog made sure that they had everything on point. So when a customer came into the showroom and they had some trailers that they can show you, that was like, okay, we got to close the deal.
Yes, marketing had something to do with it, but that sounds like a typical dealership mentality, like car salesman and mentality. Like whenever you go into a car sales place, they got everything out on the floor. They got the cool stuff out on the floor. They're walking the lot with you. They're trying to get you in your feels. They're trying to sell you the car based on how you're feeling, not so much of the quality of the vehicle.
Right.
Nissan Rogue, you son of a bitch.
So they're trying to get you on your feelings versus your better judgment. The worst thing you can do is marry that product. This is from someone who's been in the dealership business before.
Oh, I didn't know that actually. That's actually news to me. What dealership actually?
Quite a few different groups, actually. The one I'm in right now, I bought from the ones I'm actually friends with them in real life, and I've worked for them too.
Oh, that's actually really cool. So you learn something new about the people you work with every day. Where were we before I rudely interrupted you about value?
Consumers being mesmerized by all the toys and trailers and the glitz and glam of One Fat Frog.
Okay.
Because you do get mesmerized. You do. You
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, I want that one. I'm not, can I get this in here? Can I change this? Oh man, I want this. I want the same exact refrigerator. I want the same exact hood, stove. You know what? Can I get an extra large window? Can you make my window bigger? I mean, you do. Even with the outside of the vehicle, you say, well, can you make my logo like come across from beginning to end? Or can I have the little hood thing that come out? Can you do this? You start getting into all that, and all that stuff costs. Let's just say I started at 30,000. By the time I said, let me have this, can you do this? I probably would have been at 70,000. And they don't care. They're like, what else
So
you want? You said what?
So you're saying comparable places that do these custom builds are they're less customizable. It's more of a straight setup. It's $10,000 to $20,000 for your kind of setup that you wanted. Would you say that is also part of what would sway people more their way to spend the extra money because you could customize more so and the glitz and glamour, obviously?
Well, yeah, the only issue I have with that though, you have some food truck builders, they will include the sink. They'll include the counter. They may include like the AC because you have to pass inspection. A lot of times they will include maybe 3 or 4 main items. And then depending on, because they don't want to keep creating a trailer with a hood and a grill and this. And then me, I don't need a hood. I don't need a grill. So now you gotta, once you created that, now you gotta go sell it to someone who's gonna be cooking, you know. So I think a lot of times they show you the basic and then have you envision or show you something already complete to say, okay, you know what, if you're gonna go this route, this is what you should have. But I think in general, if you're going to include the sink, the AC, the water heater, whatever it is, the basic or base model shouldn't be, you know what I'm saying? Like,
The way
I'm
you said
exaggerating, but
that,
it shouldn't be
yeah.
25. It shouldn't be 25,000. It should be 10 to 15,000. You know what I mean? You're gonna pay for your labor. You know, they claim they were
Yeah,
building it from scratch. That's what they claim, but they never, I've never saw a trailer every time I went to the showroom until I couldn't go back there anymore. Every time I saw a trailer, it was never from the ground up. Never. So they claim that, oh no, we just buy the trailer and we build it up. But I've never seen trailers in the process. Never.
So they probably buy a prefab of their own because you were saying the competition was 10 to 20. So they might have been going out and maybe buying some prefab and then adding their own to it and basically almost doubling the cost to make their profit.
Probably so. I wouldn't put it past them. But I
Mhm.
know it's another company out, can't think of it, but it's another company where you can buy a trailer and they ship it to you. And I heard mixed reviews. I can't come up with the company right now. I do apologize. They're out of the United States. And it's like, you know, you can buy the trailer, they ship it to you, but it costs so much. So I think for some people, they rather just buy it, you know, from the company that's here.
That wasn't the only loss for you, if I remember correctly, right? It was 30,000, but then there was more to it than that.
So basically, I got financed for 25,000. Had to pay 5,000 total for the deposit. Now, when I came in December of 2022, I believe, I made my first 1,000 deposit. And then I made a deposit January, $1,000. So that's 2,000. And then February, that's 3,000. And then March, 4,000. The 25,000, now that you're financed, just like when you finance a car, you have to make payments to the bank or whoever you're
Sure.
financed with. So I had monthly payment in March. I think February, March, I got an email from Onefatfrog saying that by May I would not receive my trailer. And so I ain't think none of it. They used COVID as an excuse that they couldn't get parts and all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's not like I paid all everything, right? This was, I think, August, because I had skipped a few months because I had a lot of stuff going on. I didn't skip payments, but I skipped the deposit. So I came, I think this was July, the end of July or early August. I was coming to pay my final $1,000 because I had to actually buy my and have it shipped. But I ended up going to buy the generator from Bass Pro and taking it to them. I spent $1,000 for my generator. They held it there until I got the trailer and they were going to fix it on the trailer for me. When I went to go talk to them about what is the status of, okay, we're in like July, I'm not going to have it May because May passed. What's up with my trailer? Well, they end up sending me to talk to an office manager that just started. So he had no idea what I was talking about. So I'm coming at him like he stole my money. You giving me the runaround. He said, well, I'll send you out an email because I had to leave. So he sent me an email the same day. And in the email, it said that I'll have my trailer in October, but they didn't know the date. And so I said, okay. I didn't bother them. I didn't go back up there to make the last $1,000 deposit payment, nothing. But I kept making payments on my trailer. Well, they took out the payments out of my checking account. So November 1st, I never forget, I was on my lunch break at my W-2 and I called them. I called ClickLease first, the finance company. And I said, this is what happened. They told me I was going to have my trailer in May. And then they said I was going to have it in October. It's November 1st. If they say they're going to give you a refund, then we'll give you back the payments that you made. I said, okay, cool. Called Onefatfrog. The first thing came out his mouth, and I talked to Mario. He said, yeah, we don't do refunds. The look on my face in the last 15 minutes of my 30-minute break. You talking about a person who wanted to say something but really couldn't and couldn't just go up there because I was on my break. Before I hung up, I was like, oh, you won't give me my money. I got off of work. And I'm praying on the way home, driving. I'm like, Lord, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I never really been in this situation like this. I said, well, I need to grab all my receipts. I need to make sure that I need to go talk to a lawyer. Come to find out, yeah, in Florida, the laws are totally different. Well, there's no laws for consumer protection. Like none at all. So if you file a small claim, it has to be $8,000 and under for them to be able to assist you if you go to the courthouse. If it's over $8,000, you need a lawyer. Well, no lawyer will help you because everything here in Florida is accident and injury or family law or something like that. So now I feel like I'm stuck because I went to two top, and I'm not going to say the name, law firms here in Florida. And the first thing they told me was, I'm sorry to waste your time, but there are no laws to protect consumers here in Florida. You're going to have a hard time. No one would take your case. And yeah, they were right.
So I did a little bit of digging on this, and while Florida does have some consumer protection laws, some lawyers may say it lacks robust protections compared to its other states because its laws are considered weaker in certain areas, particularly regarding enforcement mechanisms, making it more difficult for consumers to successfully sue businesses for unfair practices. It's primarily due to a relatively high burden of proof placed on consumers under the Florida Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act, which is the state's primary consumer protection statute.
So even like with the bar, you know how the new lawyers come out, try to do pro bono work to help you? They don't do it either. It was so hard to find someone just to listen to your story. I went to the Orange County website, never filed a lawsuit. So I don't know how this goes. Looked up, got my documents, went down to the courthouse. Of course, you had to pay. You had to pay for the form. I'm like, what the hell? I got to pay $2 for the form. You have to pay $2 for the form before they even try to help you. Now I'm out of $13,000 for the food trailer. $8,000 was the first lawsuit. Well, actually, it was 79 something. 79 some change. Just so happened the payments that I made, I think it was 9 payments, it ended up being under 8,000. So they helped me out a lot. And then the second lawsuit is $5,000. So 4,000 for the deposit payments of $1,000 increments and my food trailer, which was $1,000. I go pay for the lawsuit. I think I paid like $335 that day. I had to pay $2 for the form. Just so happened I had $2 cash on me because if they take credit card, but you got to pay a fee on a credit card because it's $2. You talking about, wow, this is how Onefatfrog has been getting away with taking people money because they know they don't have any food trailers for $8,000. So if they try to sue, that's why everything was so inflated. They knew in Florida, if you go try to file, and then everyone were basically out of state. So if you were out of state, like in Georgia or North Carolina or Illinois, and you bought a trailer, you have to come here to file. If you just spent all your money on your business, you don't have any extra money. So that's another way how they were getting people. I mean, I don't regret going to the company like to get started because I thought I researched them and watched them enough and saw the success stories. But it just puts a bad feeling in my stomach. I get emotional, and I'm trying not to get emotional because I'm out of $13,000 and I can't get my money back. And just think about the people who paid $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in cash. At least mine was financed. That cash is gone. It's gone. It's like,
That's heartbreaking, especially as somebody who, I don't want to start making this about me, but I know the feeling of putting your all into something or getting all revved up for this business opportunity that you're so excited about. And that's been me for a few weeks too. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, it's not like it doesn't happen on multiple levels, but it's this frustrating feeling of you're really ready to move on to this next chapter of your life. You were working a job before, or maybe you were a contractor for somebody or gig worker, and you're ready to start to build something that's going to last longer. It's going to be an exit strategy, and you're doing everything you can, or you're trying to get some equipment, and for whatever reason, it's just not working out. And sometimes it's a big financial issue, or sometimes it's about Ace Hardware not giving me a goddamn chainsaw. Not the point. The point is, it's a frustrating feeling because it feels like you can't move forward because somebody else took what was yours. So you can't get started until they do. And trust me, there is no more frustrating feeling than that sense of hopelessness. It sticks with you in some cases, even when you're long past it. So I definitely hear what you're saying. So I'm so sorry for all that were involved in that.
It's never fun to feel like you're in a pit of hopelessness, and it sucks that all those people got scammed out of basically that amount of money. And those people must have done their homework, because you're saying $8,000 is like the limit in Florida. So they must have done that on purpose to mitigate litigation. I could see leveraging to protect yourself if something bad were to happen, but it seems like what they ended up doing is screwing all these people. They did it from the outset to basically bone a bunch of people, file bankruptcy, and then we're going to play the victim. Oh, we're the victim because we ran out of money. It's like, well, you took a lot of money from a bunch of different people, and then you basically screwed them all. You can't do that to people, and they're out all this money. It's really the wrong thing to do.
I went through my first lawsuit. And with Florida, I don't know how it is anywhere else, but with Florida, you go through mediation. So the first step was you file, they give you a date, and then it was online. So I don't know if it was online because of COVID and they just kept it like that, or it's always been online. I don't know the process. So anyway, the first time we met all online, it was just to get both our sides, and we didn't agree. So since we didn't agree, then it went to mediation, which was another date. So they picked another date, and then we went through mediation. Same thing. They get your side, get his side, because they never came. They had their lawyer. So I represented myself. So I was like, well, like the third part of the first lawsuit, we got another date. And I'm like, because the dates were like a month and a half or maybe 2 months in between. And so I got the third date, and I'm, there on waiting, me and the judge. And the lawyer didn't show up. So that's when I won the case, because the lawyer didn't show up. I told the judge that I want my court costs back, and I want all my payments, and this is what I was seeking for the damages. I won all the court costs and plus all my 9 payments back. But this is the catch. According to Florida, this is why the laws needs to change. They have up to 20 years to pay you back. But it didn't take you 20 years to take my money. The second lawsuit, which was $5,000, they filed the motion. So we went through the same process. You get the first date, we're online. The second part of the mediation, before I had the mediation, he filed a motion to say, yeah, we're going to throw this out. I didn't find that out until I had to do something else at the courthouse. And then when I went to go follow up on it, because I didn't get anything in the mail, I was like, well, when do I get my second date for the mediation? And when they told me that they filed a motion, I was like, well, what is that? And when he told me, he didn't show up to the first date of the second lawsuit. He did a motion to throw it out because he didn't show up, the lawyer. And so they resubmitted. I had to fill out a form, and then we had the mediation. By the time it was time for me to have the third part of it, they had filed Chapter 11. And anytime Chapter 11, you file a lawsuit as a business, it stops or pauses current or future lawsuits. And so since mine was current, it paused it. So now you have so many people coming up trying to file lawsuits in Florida, but they couldn't get here. With the Zoom calls, we were on there with the bankruptcy trustee. And so I was only on one call. I didn't get on the other calls because I just felt like everyone who were on the calls, they were not listening because everybody upset about their money, how they were going to get their money. So it was so many people talking that they just had to reschedule and do other calls. I didn't do the other calls, so I don't know what happened. But there are two Facebook groups, Victims of Onefatfrog and Justice Against Onefatfrog Victims.
By the way, the links for those two Facebook groups are going to be in the description of this video. Feel free to check them out. Also, make sure to look up Jeff Deal Channel 9 Onefatfrog interviews and see some of the stories that took place. That got cut out in the interview, so I'm putting it here myself. Just make sure that you're actually checking all this out. This is a very big issue.
I'm in the second half of that interview, and the first couple, Timmy and his wife, I actually interviewed them on my channel. So on the Doe Beverage channel, I do have a playlist. I think, Joe, I sent you the playlist.
All the links you sent me will be in the description as well.
I did interview Timmy and his wife, and they're out of Jacksonville, Florida. Once I did my interview and did my lawsuit, I want to say I started a movement. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, that's me. Well, what happened to my trailer? It was like a snowball effect. It was crazy how it happened.
Between the victims groups, the people you've interviewed, have you guys been able to get a class action against this person individually versus in bankruptcy court, this LLC? It's going to pay out the vendors he owed, and then whatever he owed for refunds is all that's going to be left. And that's obviously not going to be your $8,000 or whatever anyone put down, $8,000 or less, because he skirted that law. Have you guys gained any momentum getting that, or is that still just something you can't really do anything about right now?
So with the lawyer, the class action, one, no one would do it. Two, it costs a lot to get it started. No one has extra money. They don't have it. It's a lot of people homeless, literally had to go back to their job to try to make money because they put everything on the line. So it's hard to find a class action lawyer that's going to help you in Florida. And then if it's outside of Florida, they want to charge you so much money. It's ridiculous. So it's like, it won't happen. And then also the bankruptcy trustee mentioned that we may see 1 or 2% of our money. The key word is may. So 1% of $50,000, you mean to tell me
You'll get $50.
1% of $50,000 or 2%.
500,000.
That's all you can
50
give
to
me
100.
of the $50,000 I gave to you? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
While it's not always 1 to 2% for each payout on every class action lawsuit, it is actually really common for individuals in a class action lawsuit to get a very small payout. Sometimes a few dollars each. I remember getting a check randomly for a class action lawsuit, and it was like 64 cents, literally. But that means the total percentage of the settlement that they eventually reach can be likely less than 1%. Now, in this case, this is food trucks, and not everybody's going to be involved in food trucks as an owner of it, which is why the class would be very limited in this case. But still, that's very small. And that's not just about the class sizes, it's the lawyer fees, the minor damages, etc. So realistically, they can end up only getting pocket change in comparison to how much they paid.
And then for me, I have to wait 20 years to get my money. They filed Chapter 11. I would never see that money again.
I know states differ state to state. In Florida, can you bankroll a case, like start a GoFundMe or something to get a bankroll going, or is that
not if there's no chance of winning?
Yeah.
The burden of proof, because they're going through bankruptcy, you can't get over the hurdle to sue him personally, because apparently whatever your burden of proof you guys have that you're out all this money is not enough, which is kind of crazy to me, because that sounds like more to overcome that hurdle. You could prove that you're out all this money and you guys owe creditors. I find it kind of wild that maybe in Florida, finance law is a little different, but you said there's no consumer protection law as far as getting financed and being bankrolled. You can't overcome the hurdle to sue them personally because they decided to scam you, basically, and they're using bankruptcy as a way to get out of it.
Well, this is the thing. So just give it a little background. This is a husband and wife company. They end up getting a divorce. And now this is where the husband, he flew back to his country. But before he flew back to his country, he took all our money. So I don't know what what happened between the two. They're pointing fingers at everyone else. So they're pointing fingers at these people, these people, these people, and then each other. So now everything is on the white. He already started Phoenix Food Trailers and Maverick Manufacturers. He already started 2 other businesses. She already started other businesses. Now, I'm not sure if one was a food truck company, but she started other businesses as well, because as I look into the Facebook group, they're on it. Like, they're really on it. The people in there, they are researching these 2 people and everyone else that they can research and find the information. I don't know how they finding this information, but they're on the job. Trust me. We reached out to the governor. We reached out to both of the senators. We reached out to the attorney general, and we reached out to other people. These politicians, I don't know what relationship they have with Onefatfrog, but they did nothing for us. I think Ashley Moody, the attorney general, she did a little bit, but it wasn't enough. I don't know what happened, but they turned a blind eye. To me, I just feel like once Florida get the laws changed, they need to change the laws, because as some of you may know, I lived in Texas, and Texas small claims, their small claims is up to $20,000. So why is Florida $8,000? I'm not saying Onefatfrog wouldn't have stole the money, but it would have been a little difficult because the small claims is up to $20,000. You know what I mean? So that's probably why they were like, well, I don't know if they research states. I'm just saying. They probably say, okay, well, neighboring states, we're not neighboring states, but I'm just saying other states, okay, their small claims is like 20,000 or 25,000 or 15,000. We're going to make sure our trailers are 30,000. So we definitely know they're not going to do anything here in Florida.
It's frustrating because I feel like this was such a planned scam.
So the consumer protection law is $8,000, and because you have to extradite the guy on top of it, you can't overcome that hurdle to try to go after them personally. It's basically what you're saying. And the wife's trying to say she has nothing to do with it and got divorced because of reasons. You can't hold either one of them accountable. And I'm sorry that you and the victims have to go through that.
Come to find out, it's probably more than 700 victims. Think about the people who they're still wondering where their trailers are, but because they're so busy doing other things, they don't know, which is kind of weird. You would think, okay, well, I haven't heard anything from this company. Let me check up on this company. Just think about, it's probably like hundreds of other people who still don't know that Onefatfrog moved from the first location. I thought that was a red flag. How can you move a warehouse? How can you leave a warehouse? Like, they left their main location where I came to visit to move to a smaller location. How do you leave a company, like a business, and then move to a smaller location?
If the lease is cheaper, that much cheaper to where it justify moving everything, I get it. But like, if they're supposedly that big of an outfit, it sounds like they were trying to hide.
They
Sounds
owe
like-
so much money on that lease. Come to find out, they owe so much money that they didn't want to pay it. So it was easier for them to leave. Oh, they're getting sued for that. If you go and look up Onefatfrog,
So I did a little research on how many lawsuits exactly were going against Onefatfrog. And boy, oh boy, do they have a history. First off, in the 2020s alone, there are 39 entries. They had some little things here and there, breach of agreement and contract a couple of different times. And it's gotten so bad to where it tracks all the way back to 2005, and it's still becoming more and more of a problem. It's not unheard of for businesses to get sued every now and then, but the number of them for such a niche topic is absurd.
I mean, American Express, it's so many top companies and creditors suing them is ridiculous.
It's crazy to think about too. Like, all of these companies, from the little guy to the biggest of the big companies, saw what they did. Oh, you just screwed us out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Then you still have Fox News that was claiming, and I think you sent that to me, that was probably one of the most hilarious things I've seen. They're playing the freaking victim. Former food trucks manufacturer CEO faces scrutiny amid bankruptcy lawsuits and new ventures. You're playing victim? Like you weren't the one that brought all of this on yourself? I'm surprised this hasn't become a federal issue. Like, this is along the lines of Bernie Madoff and and real financial criminals. I'm surprised it hasn't reached that point yet.
One of the only reasons it hasn't is, one, our government's incompetent. We know that. That's a default. But two, it's not in the millions or billions. Because it's only in the hundreds of thousands per creditor or person they ripped off, the feds aren't going to step in.
Aren't they, though? Tens of thousands per little truck may be one thing, but some of these creditors, like, they all use the same general creditors at the end of the day, to the point where it would be tens of thousands for the one, but hundreds of thousands, if not millions, for the 1,000 or so victims of it.
You basically have to get Amex and all the other big creditors and all the other big vendors that they ripped off to get together and push the FBI and DOJ to do something about it, to investigate them. Are they even going to consider that versus the other bigger cases they have, is basically what it comes down to. Is that burden of proof and that hurdle getting over it, because it's so small amounts. If a bunch of them got together and say it's a couple million, they're still going to say, well, it's still not enough to get us involved when we have these other people over here who are tens of millions each, and it's hundreds of millions, if not millions of dollars that we're trying to investigate in.
I think instead of just looking at the owners who are the couple, look at the whole entire staff. Mario should be investigated. My salesperson, 6 other salespeople. I think the whole company should be investigated, not just the 2 owners, because they had help. Trust me. You can't work for a company and then you see something and say, let me see how easy that is. So what you do, for some people, they go ahead and say, well, let's see if this works. Let's just say we're going to get $50,000 out of this person. They end up getting the $50,000. So now they have to give you an invoice, right? But they gave you an invoice stating all of this stuff, knowing that you were never going to get a trailer. But if they got the cash up front, or you put half of it down, then they'll get the next person. So if that was easy, right? And then they'll go to the next person. And then it'll go to the next person. And now they can't stop because, oh my gosh, we just made $100,000 or $150,000 in less than a day, maybe in 4 or 5 hours. When people start seeing that they can get money out of someone else that easy, they start putting we got to give them some type of paper trail, paperwork. But if you don't say anything, I got $30,000 for you. I'm not saying that's what happened, but kind of think about it. Really create the scenario.
I will say that the concept you just read off triggers the same emotional wavelength as entrepreneurship in general. Like, once you start to make a lot of money in business for yourself, or even just as much as a normal 9-to-5, you're hooked. You're starting business left, right, and center, and you want to really keep yourself going. You also get a lot of stress under yourself, but you are really excited about what you're doing. But yeah, I definitely see how that addictive personality can hit.
You'd have to start with the sales manager, the assistant sales manager, whoever the GM is, anyone in upper management basically, and then accounting, where they keeping their books and holding themselves accountable, and you'd have to prove fraud somehow that way. But to do that, you have to do discovery and get those documents out of them if they aren't already destroyed, because it's been so long and the statute of limitations is running out. And now that they're already declared bankruptcy, and is that finalized yet?
No, so it's still a few other things that they have to do. We did have to come and pick up our generators. But what I didn't like about, by the time they got to me, I had to fill out this form and have my ID, submit my information. They claim they didn't get it. I know that they received that email. So I sent my information. They never gave me a date to go pick up my generators. Do you know, I saw in a Facebook group that they had a sale of all our generators. So on the front end, to make it seem like they were doing the right thing, they had us to fill out this form and submit our IDs so we can come and pick them up. But then they knew that they were going to sell them. So they sold all of our generators, all of our accessories, and the trailers that they had on site. They sold all of that. They sold it to whoever, but who got it was the husband. That's how he got all his trailers for Phoenix food trucks and trailers.
So the company liquidated their assets and he basically bought out his own inventory. Yeah, that's
Pretty
not
much.
shady or anything. Oh, man. Wow. They tried to feign ignorance on at least you guys could go pick up your generators. And they say, oh, the paperwork got lost in the mail or the shuffle. During bankruptcy hearings, you're supposed to keep every single piece of that kind of information because you have to account for everything. They were trying to say, as part of the liquidation, okay, we can sell these abandoned assets because they were considered them that you guys didn't get them, and now it defaults to them as property, the business, and he just went out and bought them for pennies on the dollar because it's considered abandoned property, and he's basically buying out his own old business. It's almost like money laundering to me, but they don't call it that. I don't think that's right. I really think that anyone who is involved in that company, had a management or ownership position, should not be eligible to buy those things. Shouldn't that be a consumer protection law and just bankruptcy law in general? You know, there's a lot of tort reform, there's a lot of consumer protection law. Yeah, there's consumer protection and tort reform that needs to happen. The unfortunate truth is it takes a decade to usually get those kind of things through. Government moves super slow.
I just feel like I'm in a nightmare. I just feel like I'm in a dream that I can't get out of.
So one last thing, if there's red flags of any other kind of company that does these kind of things that people should look for, what are they?
I would probably say if they are trying to rush you, like if you go in, like let's just say this never happened to me, and I go into the location and if I ask to see if they have any trailers, if they say, well, no, we can't take you to the back to see trailers because of OSHA or some other, they come up with an excuse, be like, okay, thank you for your time. Just leave, because you should be able to at least see 1 to 2 or maybe 3 different trailers, especially if you're a beverage or ice cream trailer, or if you're actually cooking. You need to see at least 1 to 3 trailers. If they don't have anything to show you, that's a red flag. If they don't have anything like partial build, that they're working on it, that's another red flag. If they're trying to rush you to make a sale today and tell you that you need to put cash 25% or 30 or even 50% down, that's a red flag. And never, never, never give cash. Always pay on a credit card, but hell, just in case if something happened, it probably wouldn't matter anyway, because the credit card company going to side with the company anyway, because that's what happened to me. I thought I was doing my due diligence of being a consumer to protect myself and not use cash and had to have a paper trail. That's why I used the credit card. But when I did my disputes with both credit card companies, they believed me at first until they talked with the company. I don't know what the company Onefatfrog said to them, but it came back to me saying, oh, well, yeah, you're responsible for the because it was $2,000 for each company. So I know we're going to do a different segment on that, so I don't want to get into that. But I try to tell people, when you go out and buy a car, if you go out and buy a food truck, or if you go out and buy a trailer, always use a credit card for paper trail. But then look what happened to me. I had my receipts, and then they turn around and sided with the company.
You said that Amex was also among the companies that are suing Onefatfrog. I would imagine that with that, they would be able to see, hey, they're not paying anybody. Let's also add this to the lawsuit so we can gain more back, especially if they're using apps like Klarna or some of these other like financing apps to where they get their money up front and then people get paid back whatever they owe. I would assume that'd be part of it, but I guess not.
They have so long to do a chargeback, and once that's finalized and there's a statute of limitations that they can claim it back, and then they have to sue them. Basically, these companies have analysts that says, is the time invested and the money we have to pursue chasing it worth the effort? Basically, are we going to wash our hands of it and just write it off, or is it worth chasing? Is there any potential revenue we can get back? Yeah, you would think that would also be part of it, but if the analysts say you'd stand to lose $10,000 if you just let it go, versus if you try to chase it, you're probably going to get pennies on the dollar back. It's not really worth it. Just let it go and lose the 10 grand and write it off. I'm just saying that just a base number, just simple, everyone can understand. So if you were to have someone come and ask you advice on doing a food truck, would you recommend they just buy from the people themselves that sell the equipment and the trailer versus having a company that does it for you and then going and find someone to help you build it?
Well, for me, I'm going to speak for myself, and then I'll speak for, like, if I didn't have anything to do with it, like a friend or whatever. So me personally, I would never buy a food truck or trailer. I would never invest in one ever again. And it could be from this situation, but just overall, just trying to get it started. And, I never wanted to go to different festivals anyway. I wanted to be in one location. That was my goal, is to be in one location and like just pay for rent, like at a gas station or somewhere like that. because that's what I like. That's what I wanted to do. Now, as a friend, I would tell that friend, wow, that's a great concept you have. Have you thought about, getting a cart or going to a food court or being a food hall? And if they say, well, no, I'm more of a mobile person, I don't mind driving around the city to city or, state to state, then I'll say, you know what, make sure that you thoroughly research. I would tell them my story and I would tell them to thoroughly research. This is what you should watch out for. And make sure when you purchase in that state, find out the consumer protection laws and find out small claim laws just in case you have to file a lawsuit. That's what I would tell that person.
One thing that I would recommend, just because I ended up in a conversation about this recently, because they actually saw our interview and heard about what actually took place. And he actually has a bunch of food trucks with his pizzeria up north. What he was saying to me is he heard about it, first of all, and second of all, is that he would have a different company that he would work with that is a little bit more reputable and just charge an arm and a leg. But that also said, I wouldn't just go on Google and see what other people are saying online, because here's the reality. I can make a Google review. I can make a Yelp review. I have never once purchased a food truck. I have never wanted to purchase a food truck, no matter how much TikTok is trying to sell me on the idea of getting a food truck. That said, they showed me other businesses too, but that's not the point. The point is I would talk to a food truck owner and just ask, hey, where did you get your food truck? Do you feel like the way you went was worth it, or would you do it another way? Mico didn't have the greatest experience working with Onefatfrog. This other person we were talking to had a great experience and has a bunch of them up north and is working pretty well up there. And there are a couple of other people like, no, I actually just built this myself. I prefer to just do things myself. That's my way. Oh, I actually did this myself. But you know what? Looking back, the time invested into making the food trailer what it is was a little too much for me. So I would actually go with a company, but I wouldn't know which one would be good because I never got one from there. Talk to all these people, see what they're like. You'd be surprised how welcoming and how open a lot of these owners are in terms of just telling you what they did to succeed. I think it's one of the most interesting things. Like,
they're always hiding all the best information. Like, how are we supposed to be able to grow our own business and to be able to do all these things if if it's never really taught anyway? They're just hiding all the best information.
No, there are some people talking all about it. You just gotta freaking ask them.
So yeah, that's my experience too. Is I talked to these, I was just DoorDashing and stuff, and being a gig worker, you could talk to these people and ask their experiences, and they're a pretty tight knit bunch. Like, they go to a lot of the same kind of events. They go and they do the day to day, either come in person or delivery. And I think that's a great resource. If you're ever going to do this, I think that you should talk to those who already do that in your community. There's restaurants that have like little food trucks that'll go to the local fair, the state fair. Definitely go talk to those kind of people because they're going to know best. There's some people who are handy, and maybe you can avoid that middleman markup guy and just pay someone a straight rate because they're handy enough. You say, oh yeah, I'll do it for you for a few $1,000 versus paying $10,000, because that's what sounds like the markup was. If you can engage people and network, I think that's a huge advantage in business in general, and especially if you want to go pursue your own. Some people like going place to place to place, like here, go to Watkins Glen, go to the New York State Fair, go to your county fair, or whatever local events going on, major event. Otherwise, your day-to-day, you're setting up near the military base or down in the city, serving a bunch of different people, and you have the food apps to back you up. And that's what a lot of people I know do. I don't know if you know anyone else who does it in your area anymore, but that's my experience.
It's a gas station that's up here near me, and he's on DoorDash and UberEats, so sometimes I get an order and I go pick up. The gas station, now they got rid of all the food trucks because of something with the setup. They didn't have water. You remember, I think in the other video, I was talking about you have to have a water setup. They didn't have a water setup properly, so they had to remove it. But he was the only one, and I don't know what he did with his trailer, but he was the only one that were able to go inside because they cook chicken. They have like a little chicken, crunchy chicken or something. So they have crunchy chicken in there. So I guess he used the same fryers. And he sell empanadas. So I go pick up empanadas like really for breakfast. He's on Doordash and UberEats. But I did tell him about, I think he used toast, I think. But I
Yeah,
told him to look
there's
into his
Dashboard.
dashboard for the third party delivery.
yeah, there's Toast, there's Square, there's a bunch of them. Toast and Square seem to integrate the best with most systems, and you can even do Easy Cater with those.
You can find me on Mico the Entrepreneur channel. Actually, I have 3 YouTube channels. So it's Mico the Entrepreneur. And then you have Doe Beverage, D-O Beverage. No customers, no business. If you want to know more about my situation with Onefatfrog, I do have on the Doe Beverage channel playlists. So if you go to the channel, Doe Beverage, you can scroll to the bottom and you'll see the playlist. And it has all the interviews and videos that I have about the credit card companies, which we'll talk about that at another time, and ClickLease, which is the finance company. We can talk about that as well. But I did do videos on that. Other than that, I just want to get through this situation. I'm out of $13,000. Even though I filed lawsuits since they filed Chapter 11, I would never see my money. Every day that I think about it, I'm like, my dream is not dead, but it's like a gut punch in my stomach that someone can be able to file for Chapter 11 and create other businesses and steal $18 million from over 600 to 700 people. And it might be more than that because other people, they couldn't file. They couldn't come forth to see about their trailer. My heart just really goes out to the people who paid in cash, for the ones who put up their houses, for the ones who became homeless, the ones who have kids and they don't know what they're going to do. They had to go back to their jobs. They had to find jobs. They would never get that cash back. So my heart goes out to them. We're going to get justice. It's going to take time. It's going to take the right lawyer. I don't know if this lawyer is in Florida, but it's going to take the right lawyer that can be like, you know what, I'm going to do something about this. But in time, I think we'll get back our money somehow. It may not be through them, but always remember, when you do good, good come back. When you do bad, these people who stole the money from us, the accomplices, the staff who actually worked with them as a business, they're going to get theirs. It's going to come back because you just don't treat people that way. I just hope when people see this interview that they can say, you know what, I know a person. I'm going to go ahead and make a phone call. I need you to do that because we need our money back and that's not fair to us. And these people need to be in prison. The husband, the wife, and the whole sales team, the whole marketing team, the whole company, they all need to go to jail. They need to serve some time and pay us our money back.
All right. Thank you for sharing, Mico. I really appreciate the time. And Joe, for taking the time out of your busy week. You've been pressed nonstop. You can join Joe and I every Tuesday live at 9 p.m.
If you guys also have something to say about maybe your experience with running a food truck, or maybe you even had some experiences with Onefatfrog yourself, leave them in the comments. Feel free to email us at drivenwyld@gmail.com. Who knows, maybe you'll get a shout out in a video like this as well. We are going to do a part 2 to this, going more into the financial stuff. Let us know if there's any miscellaneous questions that come from that. And of course, make sure you join our Driven Wyld Discord server, where we're going to have exclusive live streams with high-level professionals in our industry, educational systems on how to build your own dispatch company, among other exclusive opportunities that are going to be available in the Driven Wyld Discord server. And we are looking forward to helping everybody, whether you're looking for some extra opportunities to earn or whether you're looking for an exit strategy, because really the gig economy is the income bridge to what would be a long-term goal and not the goal. There is something here for you. Check the links in the description for all of that, and let's help you get started on making the most amount of money in the least amount of time in the safest possible way, so everybody has the financial security they are looking for. Thank you guys so much for watching. Mico, thank you for joining us. Bud, same with you as well. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you guys next time.